Marcus Brownlee. I respect Marcus Brownlee a lot. I think he is one of the OG creators. I think he's a really great... I don't know him personally, but I think he's a really great dude. I love his work. I watch his videos all the time. He's an incredible reviewer. One of the go-tos. He took a massive L on this, though. So what he did is he created an app of wallpapers. As you can see by the ratio here... I don't know why I haven't liked it, but sure, why not? As you can see by the ratio here, this is kind of alarming, you know, and 19 million views. Now, basically what the problem for this is well, that's like technical stuff. Basically, you need a subscription for this. It's like $50 a year, I think, and you will get wallpapers right here. So it's like a free app, but if you want the full resolution, it is like $50 per year, or you can watch ads. These are wallpapers, right? And that's like a huge thing. And number two, there was a bunch of weird stuff with data that they use to track you, right? This is based on ad stuff. There's a lot of like creators jumping in here too. I think like number one, this is incredibly like tone deaf, I guess, because $50 per year for wallpapers, I think it's absurd. Like, it's not targeted at the average consumer, sure, but I think it's such a bad look. It is such a bad look. Golden rule number one of the internet: never try to charge for something that was already free. He posted this back in 2016. This is a tweet from Marcus. This is a huge miss. I think like what he was trying to do is kind of cool, but I think what should have been done is it should have been free across the board, basically. There should have been like a Patreon type model for people who want to support the artists behind it, and that's it. And he's like the face of the company who promotes these artists, and that's it. $50, a subscription for wallpapers on a phone? It's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. And the worst part about this is that the app itself was apparently crafted extreme. And by the way, I can't verify any of this. I cannot verify any of this because I don't know about any of this. People were just like linking this stuff, and there are so many of them that I think it kind of must be true, you know? The app itself is built incredibly poorly. Like the validation and everything is just like, it's really bad. You basically have all of them, and the like paying for it doesn't actually do anything. It just lets you access them on like the interface, right? It's also this. Every single wallpaper is sitting in a public bucket. They're all right there. And the worst part about this is there was also like a wallpaper that was just like orange. Yeah, I'm not sure I can find this. As someone that reviews software for a living, this is not good. The intent is potentially amazing. Exactly, you want to lift up artists and creators, but the execution here is flawed. I will let you in on a little secret. I will let you in on a little secret that I am planning, I'm thinking of, I'm trying to develop. What I want to do is I do like a lot of Attack on Titan on the channel, right? I do a lot of Avatar on the channel. And I have a few good friends that are artists, but unfortunately, they don't really have the opportunity to really flex their artistic muscles, if you will, right? And I just launched a little merch store. Right now, it's just this t-shirt right here, right? And what I'm thinking of doing is roping them in and basically being a platform for them to get their work out to more people, and basically functioning as a advertising agent for it, you know? And creating like a mutually beneficial partnership with them, right? And that's what I mean, like this whole using your platform to lift up artists and creators is a great idea. I love it. I'm 100% behind this. But this is yikes. To maybe quote your own words, a victim of its future ambition. Also true, because he has talked a lot about things being barely reviewable, and basically what he means by that is that they come out with a future promise. And that's exactly what he did. We can look up the video. We'll talk about this guy in a second too.
Overpromise too much, but it's going to be pretty consistently improving over time, which is part of the reason why we're offering a subscription to support it. So go pick it up now.
You see what I mean? It's literally the same thing he's been talking about, which is bad. Remove all tracking, obviously. Rethink the subscription model. You probably make more money if each 4K was 99 cents. I don't think this is even about money. I think this is just common sense. $50 a year for wallpapers is absurd. Get someone that's alpha and native development to make the app super fluid and sleek. Ping. This is an honest review, and I truly hope you take some of this feedback and turn the idea around, because the mission is noble and much needed. One thing, this popped into my mind. One thing I want to say right away. Unfortunately, This happened like in the same week that Logan Paul and KSI and Mr. Beast are launching their like Lunchly thing, right? And people immediately jumped to saying that this is as bad as that. It's not. This is nothing close to what they're doing. They're trying to feed very, very unhealthy things to children. This is an app that basically no one needs. These are not even in the same ballpark, right? This is just a very, very miscalculated move by Marcus, I think. He did respond to this, though. Part of building in public is getting mass feedback immediately, which is pretty dope. Almost exactly like publishing a YouTube video. First thing we're doing is fixing the excessive data disclosures, as people rightfully brought up. For transparency, we'd never actually ask for your location, internet history, etc. The data disclosures that everyone is screenshotting is likely too broad and largely driven by what the ad network suggests. Working to fix that ASAP. As far as pricing, I hear you. It's our own personal challenge to work to deliver that kind of value for the premium version. Weekly Friday drops are starting already. I'll also be dialing back the ad frequency for the free experience. Much more to come. I appreciate you all. This is, by the way, something that's really, really smart. Note that he's not saying that he's dropping the price. If you see someone dropping the price, the idea is dead. Why do I say that? Because it implies that the value you just promised was inflated and it was not actually there. What you want to do, and this is like basic business, if someone tells you your product is too expensive, you want to increase the value that product provides, not decrease the price. It seems counterintuitive, but that's how you actually make a successful product. But yeah, so he's not like dropping the idea completely. It does seem like he wants to actually support the idea. Even though I don't really agree with the pricing myself, you know. Much more to come. Your innovation that you brought to the market was a wallpaper app. The target market for this is insanely small. Most people don't download a wallpaper app. This is for those who have been asking. If you're not into it, don't worry about it. And I think this is like this is kind of a paradoxical reply, because I kind of agree with them, you know? Like, in a way, this is not a thing that is targeted at most people. This is targeted at people who have specifically been asking him for his designs, right? So in a way, he is right. But at the same time, from the outside looking in, it does seem like you've basically... This is not one for one, but I'm using it just like as an example. You've basically established like a pseudo monopoly market, and now you're price gauging. Because the pricing for this, I think it's absurd. Wallpapers as a live service is a terrible idea. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible idea. I think just the execution of it is just not quite there. Because I am 100% behind the idea of doing like a long form collaboration with the artists, right, and them getting residuals. But I think like a across the board subscription is not the way to go. It's just not. There must have been like a hybrid pricing model of some sort, I think. Either for each wallpaper, or like if you download a wallpaper, you can choose to tip the artist or something like that. Basically using his platform to boost up artists, and not necessarily just create like this across the board $50 a year. And how is the money even distributed between the artists? Like, how does that work? You know, stuff like that. I appreciate the immediate response from him, as opposed to the dead silence in the case of Mr. Beast. Well, Mr. Beast did immediately respond to the Lunchly stuff. I think it might not have actually been Mr. Beast. I think it was KSI and Logan Paul. I think Mr. Beast just responded to something else. But yeah. What I'm interested in is how much this damages his brand. Because I think this is, I think this very much damages his brand. One thing that I think this shows very, very well is, you know how a lot of time you talk about critics, like critics of movies, and you always ask, why haven't they written their own book? Right? Or something like that, or why haven't they made their own movie? All these questions. And I think Marcus right here has demonstrated exactly why. Exactly why. Being a critic, even though it is incredibly like specific in terms of looking at a consumer point of view, doesn't necessarily translate into experience and actually building the thing or shooting the movie, right? A lot of the time you'll actually see some of the best critics in the space not making good things themselves. And that is not because they're not experienced. It's just because the skill set required to be a critic and to actually make the thing are not as close as you might think. They're not. Seeing the problems within like a story, for example, and writing a story yourself, those are actually completely different things. It's unfortunate, but I do think this is like a huge, huge misstep. We don't know what's going on in his mind. He just seems so trustworthy, but considering his competitors, it's not a high bar. I think the price for it does seem like quite, yeah, like tone deaf almost, right? Because I think $50 is an incredible amount of money. It's a ludicrous amount of money for wallpapers, and this is true for most people. Like for most people, $50 a year, that is insane. And you can say that it's for a niche market, but it's still, like, again, Marquez is not Lamborghini, right? Like, you can look at Lamborghini cars and say they're ludicrously priced, no one should ever buy them, and that is true. But Marquez is the way like his brand is presented is as looking out for the everyday consumer, and that's why people trust him. This is not it. Like, this is not it at all. And that's what I mean. I wonder how will this affect his brand. I want to say it's really not going to do anything in the long run, but you never know. I do think like this is one of those things that just like adds up, and eventually you might think about them differently. For me, the way I think about this, I think this is just one misstep. I don't think this is like Marcus's sudden plan to take over the world and get infinite money. I don't. I think this is just slightly, you know, a bit of a misstep, basically. I think there's like not enough competition in the space and not enough like people to analyze, that they just threw out a wild guess at what people might value it at, and they overshot it by like 3 orders of magnitude. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like Patreon, I think like I don't want to use Patreon as just like they should have done Patreon, because Patreon takes a large cut, right? Like ideally, if you could like trust your entire audience to move over to a certain platform, every single content creator would build their own platform. Ideally, every single content creator would just like take, like I have Patreon, right? And that is basically just giving me money. That's basically what Patreon is. Like I don't do anything that is like super exclusive for Patreon. People just give me money. Ideally, that would just be a my PayPal to your PayPal, right? But most people don't do that because they trust platforms, right? So most people know what Patreon is. They trust Patreon, so they go to Patreon. Ideally, every single content creator would do their own platform, because they wouldn't have to like do this arbitrary like split with the platform itself. In this case, Patreon or whatever, like Ko-Fi, what are all the other ones? It doesn't matter. But I think like him doing this as his own platform makes sense. So I don't necessarily think like he should have just done a Patreon. I think it's fine to like do this platform, but I still think the monetization structure of it should have been different. Playing video games and critiquing them is already worlds apart. Absolutely. When people like roast, like even video game devs, they say like you're really bad at the game. That doesn't translate into actual design experience at all. Like obviously you should know about the game, like you should have game knowledge, but I don't think you need skill necessarily to design an incredible game. And this goes for everything in business. Like I'm talking about games or books or whatever. This is true for anything. Like skills are not as linear as some people think. Like it's not like you become the best critic in the world and suddenly you can write a book, you can judge a book, you can sell a book. No, that's why people have teams behind them. Yeah, I also agree that like this is not really a big deal. It's gonna blow over, because I don't think like this isn't a case where someone's actually suffered real damages or something like that. I think this is just something that people see and they just think it's overpriced, and that's it. I do think it has done like intangible damage to his brand. I do think that is true. I do think this is something people will just like not even remember or like repeat, but I do think there is like a subconscious decreasing of value in Marcus's brand, right? You've seen this happen with a few other creators. It's never just one thing. It's always a combination of things, you know? Be it the sponsors they're taking or the way they've like endorsed a certain brand, stuff like that. It's never just one thing. But once there are enough things, sometimes the public opinion can sway. But yeah, I mean, I hope that he figures it out, and I hope, you know, it turns out to be great value for everyone involved and everyone's happy. But right now, I think this is a big misstep for Marquez. I do. Top-tier sports equipment is designed by engineers, not athletes. Yes, the feedback from athletes is invaluable, but they're just a part of the design process that others oversee. I think the way you put it is, yes, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. In the same way that, like, cars are not designed by people who drive them the best. You know, it's designed by engineers and by a whole team of people. Exactly. I think that's, like, the best way of putting it. I wish him luck, but the app seems to be built poorly. it seems to be not very well positioned in the market. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see.